all the jumping we've done already, we can end the conference because our minds have already physically shifted, right? It's an honor to be here, standing on existing protocols. Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thankful for the opportunity today because of the people here in the room today. There are a lot of young people here, and what I'm going to share this morning is something I wish I had heard or known earlier. Now, my speech is going to focus on harnessing the power of the untapped mind. Harnessing the power of the untapped mind, and is definitely linked to the theme for this morning, mind shift. I'm going to ask a few questions every now and then, so be on the alert. I'll randomly call you. Let's see if our minds are shifting already. Now, in 2021, a group of very smart people got together to answer a simple question: what will the world look like in 2071? So in 2021, smart people got gathered and asked the question, what will the world look like in 2071? Have you thought of that question before? Have you wondered what it's going to be like? Now, 50 years from now, how would communication, energy sustainability, climate conflict, the world of fashion, entertainment, tech, and everything else look like? What's it going to look like? We're expected to have a merger between our physical reality and virtual reality. You've all heard of the metaverse, right? Facebook's transformation. Now, organic food is going to be a luxury. Organic food, the watcher you love to eat. That's organic, right? It's going to be a luxury in the next couple of years. And automation is going to wipe away jobs. We're already experiencing it. A couple of years ago, I used to work in a bank. All the processes that human beings would do were taken over by computers. The transformation has begun. The question is, are we ready? Now, artificial intelligence will take a quantum leap in its growth and advancement in ways unimaginable. Now, as we're here, you know there are some hotels that use robots for service. So it means they don't need human beings. So people are going to school, hospitality industry, guess what? Just in a couple of years, you're going to be out of jobs. And this is fast advancing in developed countries. The next 50 years is going to see the biggest cultural and technological shift. As we speak, there's a sort of fixation on preserving human life. We call it cryopreserve, where millionaires want to preserve themselves and not die and wake up decades from now. Are we aware of that? I think it would be very sad if you did this a couple of years ago, only to wake up and there was COVID and COVID kills you, right? So there's an obsession with wanting to see what the future looks like. It's guaranteed that 60% of the people in this room will definitely see that change, that enough young people here who will see this transformation happen in the next 50 years. For those who will live through it, there are going to be adaptations. You'd have to evolve quickly with the times and how it's going to change. Now, here's a catch. All the future being created originates from something we all have. And what's that thing? The human mind. What is the mind of Mark Zuckerberg that propels him to invest in the metaverse when Facebook is doing so well? Facebook has made more money that if he should come back to the world 5 times over, he can't spend his money fast enough. But he's thinking future. We have the mind of Ada Lovelace, who shot for the heights of putting together the world's first computer algorithm. What about a young Ghanaian lady, Ivy Barley, who is pushing to get more black women into the corridors of KNUST? Into the corridors of tech. I understand she actually went to KNUST, sold Sobolo in the halls, and currently works at Microsoft. An opportunity that most people would love to have. Now, one clear distinction between those who actually change the world and everyone else is what I'm going to speak about shortly: harnessing the power of the untapped mind. Are you willing to shift? We are looking at a momentous mind shift at this year's iYES, and we must ask ourselves the simple questions. How far will we go to assess our minds to make that willingness to shift? Now, what is the level of mental discomfort we are willing to undergo? We love to see successful people. We love to hear stories of successful people. I often say that in Ghana, we don't transfer knowledge enough. So for instance, I'm a female politician. How many books are there on female politicians for me to read and to follow in their footsteps? You have conversations with some of them and they say, oh, we can sit down and have a conversation, but I don't want to write a book. But the question is, books transcend. So you could be gone for years, but people would follow the footprints of the wisdom you left in books for people to follow through. Now, there are 3 assessment tools for today. Let's go to the word untapped. When you hear untapped, can you give me a synonym for untapped? I think I'm going to point like a young lady in the crowd. Just give me a synonym for untapped. Let's break the bias, right? Let's show the men we know the words. Untapped, a synonym. Oh, any courageous? Okay. Yes, he's pointing. Unused, awesome. Then give me another synonym for untapped. Never done. So dull also. Okay. Any takers here? Okay. So unused, never used. Unexploited, awesome. Vacant, free, dormant, idle, untried. These are all words that describe untapped. Now, what exactly is in an untapped mind? I'm going to assess it with 3 things. The foundation is on 3 things. 1, for you to move from an untapped mind to have that conscious awareness. First off, is building mental awareness. The first experience in experiencing a shift in mindset is having the humility and the awareness to admit the effort it requires to make the move. I mentioned alternatives for untapped. Trust me, if I were to point to one of you and say, you have a dormant mind, you feel offended, right? You think, why would you say that to me? But the truth is, it's always uncomfortable for us to even describe what our minds are filled of, how active our minds are, what thoughts we focus on, or what occupies our brains on a daily. If you look at the vast amount of power the mind has and the little we've done with it. There was a movie called Lucy. In that movie, it was an action movie. That was the first time I got to appreciate that, indeed, we are using just 10% of our brains. 10%. The average human person uses 10% of their brain capacity. So you can imagine if we could reach 50%, what that potential could be. And even with the 10%, the evolution of technology, innovation, education, things that have all made our lives more convenient, has come from somebody who's had that mental awareness that we need to create something that makes human advancement better. The natural consequence of having a mental power also has a physical correlation. Now, I'll give you an example, a personal example. In 2014, I was working in a bank. It's not far from here, actually. Give or take maybe 10 minutes away. I was a Legon branch of GCB, former Ghana Commercial Bank, right? I got to work one morning. I was so bored. I was just sitting there looking out the window, and the window was no view. It was a wall. So I look out of my window, and the view is a wall. And I was asking myself, am I going to be sitting here day in, day out, banking? People will bring money, you deposit into account, you balance, you go home. Like, what the monotony of it? I want something more. My manager at the time, she actually gave me advice. She said, Cozy, not everybody settles on one stream of income. Even in the bank, as a manager, she had 2 side hustles. She had a poultry farm and she distributed drinks. And that's for a branch manager. You think that branch manager, that's big bucks, right? So you don't put or apply your energy into anything. She said no. She had kids, and she had already envisioned the future for them. And as time goes on, prices of things go up. So she needs to make that plan. At the time, I went online to see what I could do as an aside, okay, from banking, and had a conversation with a friend of mine. She's like, oh, you're always wearing nice things, so sell clothes. And I'm like, okay. So I started selling clothes, and it was a hit. But I only made money when, and this was before social media really got, active with Instagram and using it for easy convenience. The more money I made was when I was present, actively doing it, right? So were there ways of, making money while you're even sitting in the bank? So I Googled home-based businesses, because at which point I was like, look, I can't do this anymore. I want to quit banking. I Googled, and every business that came back was situated in America or the UK or somewhere, Singapore. So I was like, I'm giving up. I'm not researching this anymore. The following week, a young man comes to the bank, says he's come to do a presentation on food supplements. I'm like, okay. He needed just 10 minutes. His name was Kofi. Kofi, I'd actually seen him 4 months ago, getting married to my cousin. So him coming to the bank was like the second time I was seeing him. I said, hey, you're my brother-in-law, come. Let me call my colleagues. So he stands in front of us. 10 minutes, when he was done, everybody wanted what he had to sell. So I took the product, I went online, did my research. And I called him, I said, how are you doing this thing? He said, oh, the company is in East Legon, oh, trust me. If you want something on the side, this is it. I said, okay, tell me more about it. When I closed from work, he did. I signed up to the company. Mind you, I was already looking for an escape out of the bank, right? So I joined the company. In the first month, the manager of the company told me that I had hit a milestone in terms of sales, which was first ever globally in the 9 markets that they were in already. I was like, wow, this is going to be interesting. So does it make me a celebrity? And he laughed, right? Now, fast forward 4 months into it, I looked at what I was earning, and I wrote my resignation letter and gave it to my boss. Now, my boss said, I think you are making a mistake. And I said, no, I've been waiting for this opportunity all my life. Why should I commit myself time and energy and space when something I do part-time earns me more than I can ever imagine? But the question was the awareness that I needed something better, and also the conviction that if that were to show up, I would apply myself to it. Most of the time, we just think of how things can be better. We even love to go to church, and when the pastor says faith, we believe in it. But then when opportunities come, and they show up in the most unsexy of ways, quote unquote, we walk past. Because to us, success is easy, and just like Rosalind said, you see on social media, and you are convinced with the lifestyle and the flashiness and the clothes and the shoes of some of your favorite influencers, that all they do is just get up and look good and make money. If they were to tell you what was behind it. So they are living a dream that you will love to live. But the point is, you need to make that shift here for you to even recognize those opportunities available to you. The second bit of it is cultivating mindfulness. When we say mindfulness, and I guarantee you, if you should search any of your devices right now and search mindfulness, apps are going to pop up. You'd actually see an app called Calm. It's one of the top-ranked apps now. Oh, you've seen it. I've seen some not in the audience. So Calm is a way for you to relax your mind, for you to just calm down. And it's important, especially in the era we are in. Most young people have what we call a microwave mentality. They get into any venture, any even entrepreneurship gig, and expect to make millions within the first couple of months. And when it doesn't happen, they quit. Brian has been doing iYES for a couple of years now, and it's only getting better. Imagine that he did it the first time and said, oh, I don't like the results of it. But the results of it is the impact on young people sitting here like you today, who in the next couple of days are going to experience the shift that we're talking about. Now, in terms of thinking, how many of us actually made time to just think? In the same way you make time to eat food, you take time to shower, do you ever just sit down and think? You do that. If you do that, that's good. But most people don't. They just go through the day, they go through the meal, they wake up, they get ready, they go to work, they go to school, whatever it is. When the day ends, that's it. They don't even take account of what happened during the day. They don't even take account of whatever the goals or dreams or whatever visions they are, or if they are inching closer to it. Some people practice mindfulness through what we call meditation. For some people, that's a bit scary because it's not aligned to what their religious beliefs are. The many people hear meditation, it's almost different to what they've learned in church. Other people practice mindfulness by going to church every Sunday, where they worship, where they confess their sins, where they make commitments again and start a new week, refreshed, revitalized, and ready to seize the day. We have all heard about law of attraction, I hope. Have you heard of law of attraction? Okay, so law of attraction essentially says that whatever consumes your thoughts is what you eventually get in life. Now, in 2006, I read a book called The Secret. When I read this book, it literally changed my perspective on things, in that the more positive an outlook you had in life, the better results for you. And you could literally see it play out. Have you seen people who constantly are negative, are cynical, see nothing good about anything? Do you know examples of that? People constantly complain. They are always blaming somebody else for their lot in life. When something happens, they never take responsibility. And when something bad comes in, they say, Semanka, vindicated that something bad happened. We have examples of this littered everywhere. What The Secret says is that thoughts are things. Whatever occupies your mind, the more you think of it, the likelihood is that it will manifest in your life. Now, that shift happens today if you haven't heard of this ever before. Whatever consumes your thoughts, often whatever you're obsessed with, it's likely is going to play out in your mind. Now, if you think of these things, I'd give you an example of the Williams sisters. I just watched a movie based on their life where Venus and Serena Williams, at a young age, were told by their father that they were going to be the greatest tennis players ever. Now, what was unique about Richard, their dad, was he was so convinced in his mind. He had seen it, he had envisioned it, he had obsessed about it, but he didn't stop there. He took the girls training. They would practice hours every day. He actually marketed them to businessmen and said, invest in my children. Guess what? They are going to be the greatest ever. People laughed at him. People mocked him. To a point where he even got an opportunity to have a world best players coach train just one of his girls, and that was Venus. He couldn't get Serena to be coached for free. Why? Because he couldn't afford it. But he was convinced that she's going to be the greatest. And guess what? Venus became the first black female player to hit milestones in the history of tennis that no female had ever done. And I remember a section in the movie where the father said to Serena, when Serena was watching Venus play, that Venus is going to be the first and open the doors, but you are going to be the greatest of all time. I think it deserves a round of applause, honestly. Truth is, for most people, you might not have the parent, the guardian, the mother who sows hope, who makes you believe in your mind that you are capable of something great. Some of you do not have that outlet, all right? So what do you do if you do not have that figure that guides you on the path to make you believe that you are worth it and you are capable of doing great things? I'll link you to one of my favorite rappers of all time. I hope Pastor Brian will forgive me for introducing a rapper into the conversation. So Jay-Z, we all know Jay-Z, don't we? Now, Jay-Z, for the longest time in his career, would always talk about how his father abandoned him. But in talking about the hurt of his father abandoning him, he talked about how he learned greatness and wisdom from people who have attained heights, who had written books. So Jay-Z will talk about Rockefeller. If for the boys here, or for the young boys here, even the ladies should as well, look for a video on YouTube, The Men Who Built America. Literally young businessmen, entrepreneurs who had a vision of revolutionizing America. And these are the blueprints where successful people point out to what they see, what they read, what consumes their mind. So Jay-Z becomes successful. He's a billionaire, isn't he? His father wasn't. In fact, his mother wasn't rich either. He talks about being in the project, even selling drugs for a long time. But he made the shift in believing that he was great, and he was going to be great, and he obsessed over it. So the question is, the minute you become mindful of what you want to do, what it is you want to achieve, there's a tunnel-like, laser-like focus on it. You see how welders work, right? When a welder wants to put something together, they don't spray all over the surface. It's just like one area till it connects. And that's the laser-like focus and precision that you need. So at your young ages now, whatever you need to do and whatever you are going to focus on, the blueprint is there. You might not have your local icons, but there's the internet. You can search a world of information. People have done just that and are building platforms that are connecting you to people that you love to hear from, people that you love to be. There's literally no excuse for anything right now. Information is here. You don't even need to go to school to learn how to cater anymore. You go on YouTube and Sweet Ajele is teaching you Ghanaian foods and Kwanchiwa. There's so much happening and it's so much easier now. An older uncle said, Kozi, really, you guys have it easier now than we did back in the day because there's no internet. There's no place for you to get access to information and whatnot. So the opportunities are available in as much as you think opportunities aren't. Our distinguished MP who just left said when people were complaining about opportunities, he created 3,500 jobs just for the constituents of Medina. So it's possible. The other thing that we need to, let me see, okay, a little bit of time. Nobody has signaled me yet. Outperforming your self-image. We often think or believe in the feedback that we get. That's why I say if you're unfortunate to have a figure in your life that doesn't necessarily sow seeds of hope, doesn't speak true things into your life, is not positive, chances are you might believe the version of what they believe you are. In fact, one of the things, I remember school, way back in school, some of the teachers used to say harsh things to our fellow pupils. It's almost like a Ghanaian thing that, oh, it will toughen you up, you know. But you could literally hear a teacher tell the student that you are not going anywhere. You're always fooling, you're not going anywhere, right? Telling that to a kid is pretty traumatic. You were told that he's pointing to himself. So there are examples of what people say to you, but it shouldn't define you, because what it is that change in mindset, once you connect with the power that you have the opportunity to make you better, that your mind can actually create opportunities for you, it changes your life in the most amazing way. Now, Henry Ford. I think when we hear Henry Ford, our mind comes to cars, right? So Henry Ford was the one who said, whether you think you can or you cannot, you are right. Have you heard that quote before? Let's say it together. Whether you think you can or you cannot, you are right. Whether you think you can or you cannot, you are right. Henry Ford said this. Now, he was an American industrialist. He developed an assembly line of mass production for vehicles, okay? He's credited for changing the world of automobiles or cars. He said that if he had asked people back then what they wanted, okay, they would have said faster horses, right? Can you imagine a car and a horse? Don't put the fuel prices into context now and say you want to switch to us. Now, they would have preferred faster horses. Some would have even suggested, can we have a horse that doesn't eat? Can we have a horse that doesn't rest? But he then knew that, no, feedback in an innovation process could help or hurt. So in asking for feedback in what your vision is, you should be mindful not to sway from what you've envisioned it to be. So he said, you know what, I'm going to focus on this one thing. It's going to make cars, make better cars, and produce cars faster than anybody could. So instead of moving from horses to cars, the lesson here applies to the human mind. You cannot outperform your self-image or what your perception is to what you can believe. All right, let me take that again. You visualize what it is you want to be. It might be that you've asked somebody a question of what that is, whether it's good for your future. And just for whatever reason, they say no. It is not for you to give up on that dream because that conception came to you and you alone. Often people abandon their dreams based on conversations they have with other people. It's happened multiple times. I'm sure Denta has her own experiences, and she's doing so well. People would dog, drop, shift focus just by one negative feedback. Honorable Sosu mentioned how he had run for elections multiple times and had lost. In fact, there was an MP that I won't mention his name. He also said, because I ran for primaries. One time, I even got out of the room, and the people I thought had voted for me were laughing at me that he thinks he's going to be MP. Never. And he kept at it. He kept pushing. And now he won his primaries. He won the election in 2020. He's sitting in parliament. He's doing so well. So often, whatever views, whatever dreams you have, it just might be that one person, that naysayer, that will say, don't do it, and will disrupt your entire view and purpose. And that is not for you to give up. Once you've zoned in, once you've thought about it, to conceptualize it is enough. There are a lot of people who fail to even think of what they want to do or what their future even holds. My daughter at 10 years, I asked her, what do you want to be in life? And she says, a doctor. And she says, do you know you've asked me this 6 years straight? And I said, oh, really? He's like, yes. You asked me this when I was 4 years old. And I said, a doctor. You asked me when I said I was 5 years, when I was 5 years old. And I said, a doctor. And I even told you that what's better than curing people of illnesses? So why do you keep asking me? I said, I just want to be sure you are focused on that vision, you know. So even for her, I know that once she's locked it in, it's for me as a parent to assist her on what she's truly passionate about. If she changes her view along the way, as a parent, it will be for me to encourage. Most of you might not have that figure in your life that sows the seed, that gives you the mind shifts for you to believe and for you to be an agent of change, for you to realize your true purpose of impacting lives or helping people. Sitting in the audience today is a young person who's going to do amazing in the field of medicine. It's going to happen. There are young lawyers sitting in the audience. There are young entertainers sitting in the audience. All of you are destined for such great things, but it's important for you to start focusing on what that is by making that mental shift. Most important is walking in the steps. What training tools, what seminars are you going to put yourself to? What YouTube videos are you going to be watching? There's so much in terms of distractions right now in the world. Look, And as much as you're watching a good educational tool, YouTube is going to show you an ad where it takes you off what you are even learning. And before you realize, you've clicked on it and you're off your course completely. I think that this seminar, in the next 3 days, is going to be really extremely powerful. As you're sitting here, tell your other friends, colleagues to tune in. As I said before, some of the things I've heard today and what I know now, I wish I'd heard when I was much younger. Now, in conclusion, since Pastor Brian is here, let me end with a not so popular background story of a donkey. A baby donkey is called what? Okay, it's actually a goat. A colt. That's true. And some people say an ass, but it's not convenient where I'm standing right now. So let's just say a baby donkey. So somewhere in 80 BC, a rich young merchant owned a donkey. This donkey served as a beast of burden, would carry loads. Its sole purpose was to carry the produce from the wealthy merchant's farms all the days of its life. Over time, the donkey gave birth to another donkey, a baby donkey. And as the donkey became of age, he asked his mother, "So, what is my future going to be like?" And he said, "Well, you see this load I'm carrying. When you become of age, this is what you are also going to be doing. Now, you take my place, you carry the load, and you serve the merchants just as I have." The donkey died, and the baby donkey took over. The baby donkey, just true to what its mother had said, continued to carry this load from the farms and to help the rich merchants. Now, it literally became the heir of destiny, because that's what his mother had told it. Our destiny is to carry these loads. In its 7th generation, one particular donkey was waiting its turn to also start the journey of carrying loads. This donkey was tied to a tree, and out of nowhere, 2 men came out and said, "Well, it's time for you to go." Now, the merchant who was just around the corner said, "Where are you taking the donkey to?" The men replied, "The Lord needs it." And that was the donkey Jesus rode into Jerusalem. Now, just like that, regardless of your generational history, regardless of what your past has been, you should leave here with a mind shift. A shift in the perception of what your mind could be, a shift in how you can reimagine your life, and most importantly, a shift in cultivating mindfulness, and a shift in performing and outperforming your self-image. Tap the power of your mind. Thank you so much. God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, Madam Akosua Manu. You can't go yet. You can't go yet. We have some time. We need to